The Mumbai monsoon hammered Mira's window, a relentless assault of water and wind. Each drop was a tiny explosion against the glass, blurring the neon cityscape outside into an abstract painting of vibrant colors. The storm had been brewing for hours, a slow crescendo of thunder and lightning that finally unleashed its full fury upon the city. Rain lashed against the window panes like angry fists, each impact a sharp reminder of the storm's raw power. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the window frames and sending shivers down Mira's spine. It was the kind of storm that made you feel small and insignificant, a tiny speck in the face of nature's overwhelming force. The downpour was so intense that it created a shimmering curtain of water, obscuring the already hazy view of the city. Alone in her third-floor flat near midnight, the only light source being the flickering neon signs reflecting off the wet streets below, Mira felt a profound sense of isolation. The city outside, usually a cacophony of sounds and activity, was now muted and subdued, as if holding its breath in anticipation of the storm's next onslaught. Mira felt the wind's mournful howls seep through the cracks in the aging apartment walls, a chilling symphony of nature's fury. It whispered tales of forgotten storms and ancient secrets, a constant reminder of the impermanence of things. The building groaned under the strain, each creak and rattle adding to the unsettling atmosphere, making her shiver despite the humid Mumbai air. The temperature inside the apartment seemed to drop with each gust of wind, creating an uncomfortable chill that settled deep in her bones. She pulled her thin blanket tighter around her, seeking a small measure of warmth and comfort. Her cozy apartment, usually a sanctuary, felt bigger, the storm amplifying the emptiness. The familiar furniture seemed to shrink in the face of the vast darkness outside, creating a sense of unease and disorientation. The neon lights reflecting through the window cast long, distorted shadows across the walls, adding to the surreal atmosphere. Emptier, the silence between the thunderclaps amplifying the feeling of loneliness. It was a silence that pressed in on her, a heavy weight that seemed to suffocate her senses. She longed for the comforting sounds of the city, the distant hum of traffic, the chatter of voices, anything to break the oppressive quiet. Shadows stretching into unfamiliar shapes, dancing menacingly on the walls. They seemed to writhe and twist with the rhythm of the storm, transforming familiar objects into grotesque figures. Mira found herself staring into the darkness, her imagination running wild with possibilities. The lights flickered, a common occurrence in the aging building, threatening darkness, each flicker a prelude to a potential blackout. The thought of being plunged into complete darkness sent a jolt of fear through her, a primal instinct to avoid the unknown. She knew that the building's electrical system was unreliable at best, and a storm like this could easily overload it. Her heart pounding with every surge of electricity, a frantic drumbeat against the backdrop of the storm. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, sharpening her senses and putting her on edge. Each flicker of the lights felt like a warning, a sign that something was about to happen. The rain, usually soothing, a comforting lullaby that lulled her to sleep, now amplified her isolation, turning her sanctuary into a prison. The constant drumming against the window felt like an interrogation, a relentless questioning of her solitude. She yearned for the peace and tranquility that the rain usually brought, but tonight it only served to heighten her anxiety. Mira scrolled aimlessly through her phone, seeking a connection to the outside world. But the world outside felt distant, unreachable, separated by the storm's impenetrable barrier. Social media felt hollow and meaningless, a poor substitute for genuine human interaction. She saw images of people laughing and enjoying themselves, oblivious to the storm raging outside, and felt a pang of envy. She sighed, a sound lost in the wind's howling, uneasy with the silence that followed each thunderclap. It was a sigh of resignation, a surrender to the feeling of helplessness that had washed over her. She knew that there was nothing she could do to change the situation, nothing to alleviate her anxiety. Wondering why this storm felt so personal, as if it were a reflection of her own inner turmoil, almost alive, as if it watched her, judged her, knew her deepest fears. The feeling was unsettling, a sense of being observed by something unseen, something malevolent. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone, that there was something else in the apartment with her. She double-checked the door lock, a futile gesture against the storm's potential wrath, a city habit, ingrained from years of living in a crowded metropolis. It was a reflex, a small act of control in a world that often felt chaotic and unpredictable. She knew that the lock wouldn't keep out a determined intruder, but it gave her a small measure of comfort. But the prickling on her neck wouldn't fade, a persistent warning signal that something was amiss. It was a primal instinct, a sense of danger that she couldn't ignore. She tried to rationalize it, to dismiss it as mere anxiety, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing moment. Was it just her imagination, fueled by the storm's intensity and her own loneliness? Or was something truly off tonight? Was there something else in the apartment with her, something she couldn't see or explain? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, a cold wave of fear that washed over her. She glanced around the room, her eyes darting from shadow to shadow, half expecting to see something out of place, a sign of intrusion, a confirmation of her fears. She scanned every corner, every nook and cranny, searching for any indication that she was not alone. Everything looked normal, the familiar furniture arranged in its usual order, the walls adorned with her favorite artwork. But the silence between gusts felt heavy, pregnant with unspoken dread, charged with tension, like the air before a lightning strike. It was a silence that screamed, a silence that amplified her fears and made her question her sanity. Mira wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders, seeking a small measure of comfort in its familiar warmth, trying to shake the growing sense that she wasn't as alone as she hoped, that something, or someone, was watching her from the shadows. The feeling was persistent, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. She was alone, but not alone. The silence of the late-night apartment was absolute, a thick blanket muffling the sounds of the sprawling cyberpunk city outside. Inside, Mira was unwinding after a long day navigating the neon-drenched streets and the cutthroat world of corporate espionage. She had finally found a moment of peace, a chance to let her guard down, but that tranquility was about to be shattered. Her phone buzzed, a jarring vibration against the otherwise silent backdrop, startling her. The sudden intrusion sent a jolt of adrenaline through her system, instantly snapping her back to a state of alert. The screen illuminated, displaying the time, 11:47 p.m., late, too late for casual conversation, too late for anything good. An unknown number flashed across the screen, a number she didn't recognize, a number that sent a shiver of unease down her spine. In this city, anonymity was often a prelude to trouble. Mira hesitated, her fingers hovering over the accept button. A battle raged within her, curiosity versus caution. The desire to know versus the fear of what she might discover. Curiosity won. With a deep breath she steeled her nerves, then opened the message. The screen flickered, and the words appeared. 4 words, simple, innocuous, yet profoundly unsettling. Did you hear that? The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Her blood ran cold, a wave of icy dread washing over her. The words seemed to seep into her mind, planting a seed of paranoia. Hear what? She thought, her mind racing. What was she supposed to be hearing? She strained to listen, focusing all her attention on the ambient sounds of her apartment and the city beyond. Just the rhythmic drumming of rain against the window pane, the mournful howl of the wind whistling through the narrow alleyways, and the familiar creaking of the old building settling, its aged infrastructure groaning under the weight of the relentless weather. Was there something else lurking beneath the surface of these ordinary sounds? Something sinister? Something she was missing? A faint scratching sound, almost imperceptible, tickled at the edge of her hearing, or was it just her imagination, her mind conjuring up phantom noises fueled by the unsettling message? The message felt invasive, a violation of her personal space, as if someone, somewhere was watching her, knew she was alone and was deliberately trying to unnerve her. Was it a prank, a cruel joke perpetrated by some bored hacker with too much time on their hands? Her heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the growing anxiety within her. She read the message again, the words searing themselves into her memory. Dread tightened in her stomach, twisting and churning like a venomous serpent. Did you hear that? The question echoed in her mind, amplified by her fear. It felt like a challenge, a gauntlet thrown down, daring her to acknowledge something she couldn't quite grasp. She wanted to laugh it off, dismiss it as nothing more than a silly attempt at intimidation. But the laughter wouldn't come. A knot of apprehension tightened in her chest, choking off any attempt at levity. The sender was faceless, a ghost in the digital machine, the intent behind the message chillingly ambiguous yet undeniably menacing. Mira's sense of safety, the fragile bubble she had carefully constructed around herself, crumbled into dust. This wasn't a joke, not a random act of digital mischief. This was something else, something far more serious. It was the beginning of something sinister, a dark thread unraveling in the fabric of her life, promising a descent into a nightmare she couldn't yet comprehend. Mira blocked the number, a futile attempt to sever the connection, to regain some semblance of control over her increasingly unraveling reality. She pressed the digital block with a force born of desperation, hoping to create a barrier, however flimsy, against the encroaching threat. It was a small act of defiance in the face of an unknown enemy, a digital shield raised against a storm of harassment. She was trying to reclaim control, to wrestle back her peace of mind from the unseen forces that were trying to steal it away. Each tap on the screen, each blocked number was a declaration of resistance, a refusal to be silenced or intimidated. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning of a much larger battle. Relief was fleeting, a mere whisper of calm before the storm intensified. The digital world, once a source of connection and information, had become a weapon turned against her, and there was no easy escape. Her phone buzzed again, the vibration a jarring intrusion into the fragile quiet she had managed to create. It was a persistent reminder that she was not alone, that someone, somewhere, was watching and waiting. Another unknown number, a digital ghost haunting her device. Each new number was a faceless threat, a voice she couldn't identify, a presence she couldn't escape. Another message, a digital breadcrumb leading her further into the unknown. The constant stream of notifications was a form of psychological warfare, designed to keep her on edge, to erode her sense of security. 2 words, "I'm outside." The message was simple, direct, and terrifying. It shattered the illusion of safety she had tried to build around herself, confirming her worst fears. Panic surged, a cold wave washing over her, stealing her breath and clouding her thoughts. The words echoed in her mind, amplifying her fear and uncertainty. Outside where? The question clawed at her, a desperate plea for context in a situation spiraling out of control. Was it a general threat, or something more specific, more targeted? Her building? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Was she being watched from the street? Her every move scrutinized by unseen eyes? Her door? The idea that someone was just outside, mere inches away, sent a jolt of pure terror through her veins. Her window? The vulnerability of the glass separating her from the outside world suddenly felt unbearable. The storm now felt like an accomplice, a chaotic symphony of noise and shadow that amplified her fear. It was masking whoever was out there, concealing their presence and intentions behind a veil of rain and darkness. She felt watched, every shadow seemed to hold a hidden figure, every sound a potential threat. Suffocated by fear, she struggled to breathe, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. Was this random, a cruel twist of fate, a case of mistaken identity? Or was she being targeted? Was she the intended victim of a calculated attack, a pawn in someone else's game? The threat was real, palpable, a dark cloud hanging over her. Close, too close for comfort, invading her personal space, her sense of security, and relentless and unending barrage of digital harassment designed to break her spirit. Mira's mind raced, a whirlwind of questions, fears, and desperate attempts to make sense of the situation. Who could it be? A disgruntled former colleague? A scorned lover? A complete stranger with malicious intent? Why her? What had she done to attract this kind of attention, to become the target of such relentless harassment? She felt trapped, cornered in her own home, with no escape from the digital onslaught. Her flat no longer a sanctuary but a prison, a place of fear and uncertainty. The messages were escalating, growing more frequent, more threatening, more personal. A direct threat, no longer veiled in ambiguity, but a clear and present danger. Whoever it was, they were no longer hiding in the shadows, but stepping into the light. They knew she was alone, vulnerable, and increasingly desperate. The sense of safety was gone, replaced by a gnawing fear that she was completely exposed. She was cornered, trapped in a nightmare with no clear escape route. Danger closing in, the walls of her apartment shrinking around her, the threat becoming more real with each passing moment. The storm outside was nothing compared to the tempest raging within her. The terror inside, a consuming darkness that threatened to overwhelm her completely. Mira battled panic and curiosity should she look outside. The suspense was unbearable. She crept to the window, staying hidden, and peeked out. The street below was empty, rain-slicked and deserted. Streetlights cast eerie shadows, but there was no sign of anyone. Relief flickered, but dread returned. If no one was outside, who sent the message? Were they watching from somewhere unseen? Or was the truth worse? The thought chilled her. What if the person wasn't outside at all? What if they were already inside? The idea made her skin crawl. Mira's phone chimed, a different alert. Her old CCTV app, motion detected. In the living room, now. Her blood froze. She was just there. Hands shaking, she opened the app. The grainy feed loaded, aimed at the coffee table. At the frame's edge, bare feet, still, under the table. Mira couldn't breathe. Someone was in her apartment, hiding just feet away. The forgotten camera had revealed a nightmare. The feet didn't move, as if waiting for her to notice. She was paralyzed, unable to scream or run. The air thickened with menace. The storm outside faded. The real threat was inside. Her sanctuary had become a trap. Every second stretched, terror mounting. She realized she was not alone. Frozen with fear, Mira's eyes darted around the room. Her gaze landed on a dusty shoebox on a high shelf. Desperate for distraction or a weapon, she pulled it down. Inside, among old mementos, she found a faded Polaroid. Dated October 1997. A young girl stood in a room, Mira's living room. The girl's eyes were dark, her smile unsettling. Mira remembered a local ghost story. A girl vanished from this neighborhood decades ago, never found. The photo felt like a warning, a link between past and present. Was this the same apartment? Was the girl's fate repeating? The dread deepened. Her terror was older than she realized. Mira's phone lit up again, another message. Her nerves were frayed, her mind swirling with images of the feet, the photo, the storm. The message was short. Chilling look behind you. Her heart stopped. Behind her was the old hallway mirror, a silent witness to her life. Now it felt like a portal to something sinister. Every instinct screamed not to turn, but she couldn't move. The words echoed, "Look behind you." The air grew colder, the rains drumming frantic. Silence stretched, unbearable. She had to know. Slowly she began to turn her head. Every muscle resisted, but she couldn't stop. The suspense was agony. She faced the mirror. Mira stared into the mirror, her reflection pale and terrified. For a moment she saw only herself, shaken, wide-eyed. Relief flickered, but then her reflection smiled, a slow, evil smile that didn't match her own frozen lips. The eyes in the mirror were cold, ancient, triumphant. Mira tried to scream, but no sound came. She was paralyzed, trapped by her own terror. The reflection raised a hand in a mocking farewell. The lights flickered, then darkness swallowed the room. Silence fell, deep and final. Mira was gone, vanished without a trace. The storm's fury was nothing compared to the horror left behind. The mirror stood silent, reflecting only emptiness. The apartment was still. The evil had claimed its next victim. Morning sun streamed into Mira's silent apartment. The storm had passed, but dread lingered in the air. Her belongings were untouched, a cup of chai cold on the counter. Police arrived, alerted by her absence. No signs of struggle, no forced entry, just emptiness. A constable found her phone near the antique mirror, screen cracked. The last message, unread, from another unknown number. One down. Who's next? The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The old case of the vanished girl from 1997 suddenly felt relevant. The question hung in the air, chilling and unanswered. Who would be next? And what evil still waited unseen in the shadows?